What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of November 15th through November 21st of 2021. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. I appreciate you all so much. Hope you're doing well. I was going to do this video live, but I've been having internet troubles all weekend. Very Mercury opposite Uranus. So like I said in the weekend forecast too, like we just got to go with the flow. So I'm just going to record this because I know it'll show up and I'll get it uploaded when I can. Hopefully that's cool. Definitely trying to go with the flow and not get, bummed out about it. So we'll get it up when it gets up. And yeah, appreciate you guys. What a week in the astrology. We're going to have, of course, the big thing this week is a lunar eclipse in Taurus. Full moon, lunar eclipse. This is a lot. This is a slide changing in our life and in the way we feel, and a lot of it comes back to this Taurus Scorpio axis. So it's very much about this heightened sense of our physical senses, of our capacity to create, kind of taking our values, and it's almost like we're redefining our relationship to ourselves and how strong and steady we can be within ourselves and how we can feel steady emotionally, also to have all the things we need. Taurus is the relationship to self, where the other Venus ruled sign is Libra. It's relationships to others. While relationships to others is a constant in life, we have to know that we have it within ourselves to make things happen, because this is where the slide's shifting, and it's kind of a precursor in many ways with the nodes still in Sagittarius and Gemini currently for this eclipse. Like, we're about to have the nodes come into Scorpio Taurus. So it's like we get this precursor kind of eclipse here, because the next solar eclipse will be in Sagittarius to kind of finish off this nodal cycle here in this axis. This is like a precursor to where once we come into 2022, the next 18 months of the nodes in Scorpio Taurus will be. So kind of this eclipse is with Algol, and it's known as the demon star. It's Medusa. It's a binary star system that does blink. So ancients would say it's Medusa kind of winking at us. So there is this kind of level of, I guess, darkness behind this lunar eclipse that is kind of like the dark's kind of winking at us, like what's to come. So it's in the constellation of I can't even say it right, Cassiopeia or something like that. But it's Perseus that is holding the head of Medusa, because he slayed Medusa, the demon Gorgon. So Perseus was a great hero, rode on Pegasus to slay Medusa, and didn't get turned to stone, right? Because Medusa, if you looked at her in the eyes, you turned to stone. So there's something about where things are heading that feels like we got to be very careful with our attention so that we don't get turned to stone. And I kind of touched on this, and I was channeling it last week a little bit with our intent, and where we put that right now is so important. I think that this is a lunation and the eclipse that kind of really focuses that. Like, we got to be very strong and steady within ourselves to put our energy into aspects that are bringing us this like Garden of Eden energy of Taurus, like this great, beautiful reality that we can have. But there's just dark energy on the other side, and that's kind of this polarity that we're coming into. And I think it's important to know that we can slay all dark energy. Kind of interesting. I was meditating last night. I'm just going to go on this little story because it came up right now, but I was meditating, and out of nowhere, this really dark energy kind of came into my space. And I fought it, I kind of fought it off with my heart. Like, I at first was like, oh, I'll white light this thing, and that didn't work. And then instead of getting scared, because I almost got scared, to be honest, and instead of getting scared, I just went right to my heart center, and literally green light in my space of that meditation just destroyed this thing, just took it out. So I think there is something about getting really into our heart that's very important as we come into this energy that's redefining and kind of changing the slide of our values, changing the slide of how we feel about ourselves and the relationship. We got to be able to create for ourselves here. Like, Taurus is like, I can do this myself energy in a lot of ways. Like, I have everything I need to get what I want, to build sort of my foundation and castle. So it's a big energy, I think, for all of us to really remember that we have all we need and that we are strong enough, steady enough, beautiful enough, like all these things, self positivity to get through whatever sort of the dark might be winking or the dark might be throwing at us, because we live in a very there's darkness out there. Like there's just no denying it at this point. Like you can't say that there isn't some dark force in the world, like, and it's just all kumbaya. It's just not. There's sinister stuff going on, and this is where we have to know our capacity to create a life that feels right to you as an individual, that feels like you have what you need, and you can pay attention to that, to create. It's also interesting that as we get this lunar eclipse, Venus will be in shadow. Venus enters shadow this week at 11 degrees of Capricorn. Venus is the ruling planet of Taurus, and it's going to be in Capricorn till March. So it, with a retrograde on Pluto, and now we're entering that Venus shadow period. So it's definitely it's a big sort of reevaluation when it comes to our values. Like really reevaluating our relationship, not only to ourself and our physical capacity, but to the governments of the world in Capricorn, to the systems, the structures, the programs that are running as this consensus sort of notion of society. And like, we got to figure out new ways. We kind of got to figure out the new relationship to this system. And, what can be beautiful, what can be balanced, of course, but it starts with the individual. And I think that's what this lunar eclipse is kind of bringing up, is like, we got to get to the root of, our own desires, accomplishments, our own, purpose, our own mission, and figure out what that means for us. So I think that that's what the slide is kind of shifting to, is this big reevaluation of how to love ourselves more, of how to fight evil away, of how to not get put under a spell or to turn to stone in some ways, how to, deal with dark energy. Because of this eclipse with Algol, we got to kind of like be aware of it, but how much dark do we want to let into our personal lives? So that becomes very important, and what that means in terms of our relationship to governments and systems that are going on in the world. Also, big energy. We're also going to see Mars oppose Uranus this week in Scorpio, and Uranus in Taurus. Like pretty explosive energy, I'll be honest. Like that just kind of has like impulsive, just out of nowhere stuff showing up. So mixed with heavy heightened eclipse emotion, we get like, who knows what could happen in our personal lives? Who knows what could happen, or what we might have the impulse to do? So kind of we could shock ourselves, we could shock people by really like maybe finding our values. We do get this just before the lunar eclipse will take place. Mars is pulling away from, of course, squares to Saturn. So there is this sort of like pressure that's going away, so that we can really penetrate into our desires, that we can really, it might be that we're finding so much confidence in ourselves in some way that the slide is shifting, and we're realizing this great capacity we have, that maybe we can, maybe we're going to shock people in our life because we're doubling down. There's kind of like double down energy. Taurus is very kind of stubborn. So there's like this double down for your passions, your desires, and how you are, putting yourself out there as the most authentic version of yourself. So there's shocking energy. I feel like we could definitely see some shocking stuff show up in the world. Energies are just kind of through the roof this week when it comes to what could come out, what could be, sort of surface in this, as we finish. This is the final week of Scorpio season. So it's like, we've been doing a lot of investigating, and Mercury and Scorpio, it opposed Uranus. Like we've gone deep and into some other realms. And Mercury is also going to sextile Pluto. The sun will sextile Pluto. The sun will start off the week with a square to Jupiter. Mercury will square Jupiter, and the sun will sextile Pluto as well. So there's definitely this, I mean, I feel like it can be sort of an easygoing transformation as we're kind of redefining our own structures and boundaries within ourselves, and like getting to the bottom of deeper truths. So it's almost like there is this like emergence this week where we can find a lot of power especially with a lunar eclipse in Taurus. Like, I feel like this is finding our own power. Like, not so much like looking for handouts, not so much looking for someone else to come in and save the day, but like this could be a very powerful slide in our lives that shows us that we can create things. Like, we can really bring some of our deepest desires into manifest form, and maybe start like getting things kind of going, and knowing in some way that we have it, and we can build these castles in our lives. We can build these strong connections, and we can kind of start, maybe too with the sextile or the trine to Pluto with this lunar eclipse. Like, Pluto's getting aspected really well for this eclipse. It's like the transformation process of this is almost like just necessary to happen. Like, it's just ready to come out in like a less forceful, less cataclysmic way, hopefully, for individuals, I think, that are maybe, winking back at Medusa, like, I see you, dark energy, I see you, demons that are in this world, and I don't comply. Like, I'm not going that way. I know who I am. I'm sturdy in myself, in my light. Could be, it's one of those weeks. It's kind of just the slide that's shifting too. So it's almost like this carries on. Eclipse energy can last a long time, a month, 6 months, especially at least until the solar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is with the South Node, and getting into beliefs. What do we really believe in, and are we willing to switch up beliefs with information? We've seen so much information. Like, we got to be able to find security in new information, and how to kind of pivot in life. Like, that's where the beliefs can change. Like, oh, I've seen all this new information, so this great belief has taken place, and I can feel strong and sturdy within my capacity, within my manifestation abilities, within the relationship to myself. Because it's almost like really pouring the cement with your own security this week that is the greatest transformation into your passions, into your soul evolution. And it's a lot going on. And especially with a Venus in shadow, like, we're really starting to go into this process of like our relationship to society, our relationship to what the pinnacle is, what the achievements are for ourselves. Like, they're going through a shift here, and we haven't had a Venus retrograde in Capricorn since 2013, 2014. So, maybe go back in your life and see what kind of themes were playing out in December of 2013 into 2014, and see how you can kind of do it better. There's some of that energy too. Like, how could I do this better and move forward with a deeper reliance on self and not so much other people? So we got to get really into our self-worth here, and know that we can make big achievements happen. We can do big things, but we kind of have to know it ourselves, and realize that we're strong enough, sturdy enough, reliable enough, beautiful enough to make that happen. Very big week. Let's take a look at the charts and go through that. All right, so we start off on Monday. We're going to see the sun square Jupiter. That's kind of the big starting point for Monday. We kind of felt this building up for the weekend, and it's at a net 5. So I think that there's a lot of understanding that we can make great connections kind of show up in our life, that we can open a lot of different doors in our life, but there's also this edge that kind of has to come with it. And it's like, are we penetrating into, I don't know, almost like the edge of what we can get into within ourselves, so that we can kind of make desires blow up in a big way, but it's almost like we can be too risky. So we kind of want to be careful Monday, and like not go too far, or look for like some crazy like edge that's like detrimental to ourselves. We're gonna have a moon in Aries, and it's gonna be coming off the square to Venus, but we could find a lot of power, I think, within ourselves deep down, and like really identify with those emotions and what they can take us. Like, there's a future here. There's a step forward that we're all trying to take. And it's through these steps forward that I think we can make gifts show up in our life. I don't even say make, but they can show up if we have that sort of edge and that determination. Mars will be 2 degrees away from the opposition to Uranus in Taurus. So we're already in this place where like there's just shocking energy. Like we can get shocked by our own edge, by the world's edge, by other people that are like maybe making us feel like we got to go into a sense of feeling like lack or like we need something outside of us, when really like the greatest genius is just within us, and we almost have to trust our instincts to move in that direction. And of course Mars and Venus are in sextile. They're not going to hit exact because Mars is starting to move. Mars is going fast, like 40 minutes a day, and Venus is slowing down 2 degrees before shadow. So Venus is just going to keep slowing down, and Mars is eventually going to catch up to Venus. So they won't hit exact, but we do have that like powerful creative urge, I would say, to go into our deep essence of self and to our soul and kind of get desires and achievements locked down from a deeper aspect and know how to penetrate into those things while simultaneously redefining our values within the system of society that we live in. So as Venus, does make its way to Pluto to station at 26 degrees when Pluto's at 25, like we're going to be in a big point of like really transforming our relationship to power outside of ourselves in society. And I think that this is a week where that gets like kind of highlighted. And even Monday, we're on this brink of starting to really, I think as a collective, define new systems here of value. And definitely about it's about having that courage too. And we don't have a lot of fire in the chart, so the moon in Aries is definitely trying to have us use some of this ethereal fire and strength within us to get through hard aspects. And it will make some quincunxes over to Mercury and over to the sun. So sometimes it's not easy finding that deep strength, but I think we got this on Monday if we're willing to kind of find the right kind of edge that makes us feel powerful and to not, get deterred by the edge of life that's trying to not make us feel powerful or take us out of that creative expression. Tuesday, we get the sun that comes to 24 degrees. Definitely I think we're looking for deep connection with other people kind of by Tuesday, and like who's also kind of in their strength. The moon's going to finish up in Aries, but it is going to square Pluto and sextile over to Jupiter as the sun pulls off the square to Jupiter. People are important. Like we've been dealing with like this community tribe energy for a long time with Saturn here and Jupiter in Aquarius right now. And, there are people here that do want to help us. And I think we want to be open to the people in our immediate life and that we have good bonds with that are here to help us. We don't have to go through this on our own, but it's also not like expecting that someone's going to come through and save the day. And we also get the sun at 24 in quincunx to the moon, and we're getting the moon square Pluto and the sun sextile Pluto. So I mean, there's this interesting transformative aspect to like finding your power to create structure in your life, like, and to realize that we don't have to do it alone. We're here to work with each other. We all have relationships to other humans. That's part of life. And we might have to kind of break through fears of who is here to help us and who isn't. So it's almost like redefining and transforming who's here to be a helping, factor and to empower each other. It's like we need community and relationships and energy in life that's ready to go into the direction and to see new power opportunities within self to create that sort of tribe energy and that community vibe as well. So it's pretty deep. I feel like this is where you really see who's like Tuesdays, like you see who's on your team and who's not. And Mars is, 1 degree away from the opposition to Uranus. So we're really feeling that Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. People could shock people. Like this week. Like it kind of has that energy of like, in some ways, boundaries are getting drawn. So we got to be aware of these boundaries. And I guess we also have to respect and balance out like what other people's boundaries are with our own. And, some people are here to help us. Some people are here to, maybe they already helped us. And like those situations have ended. So we got to find some nice little center point when it comes to our own capacity, and then the capacity to trust and let others in, or to attract in what we want. That moon square Pluto is definitely digging up a lot of stuff within us, a lot of our own empowerment that we need to find. So that's getting dug up, and Mars in opposition to Uranus is like, it might shock people what you have dug up for yourself and what that means moving forward. Wednesday, we do get the sun at 25 degrees, and that's, the master degree of Pisces, so it gets very divine. There is a divine notion, and Venus will enter shadow on Wednesday. There's something about the relationship to spirit that's so important, and about how you can have that, sort of defining structure within yourself. And then Mars is opposite Uranus exact on Wednesday. So Wednesday is like a big day. I think we're expanding sort of our trust in the universe to make, to help us feel stronger. And then the moon will come into Taurus and square Saturn. So we're definitely like ready for this eclipse. Like the eclipse energy is building very strong Wednesday. And the moon will also meet with Uranus and oppose Mars. Like Wednesday's definitely like the universe is going to show something in this world for us to make a choice for, to come to balance in terms with, to realize that, we have to feel things. Like this moon in Taurus is going to want to feel everything and use our senses to kind of come to justifiable notion in life. And it's square Saturn. So it's like, we don't want to block our feelings or just, let sort of this outside world or society dictate our capacity to create. It's like, no, we got to trust our connection and our deep spiritual essence to give us the courage and the capacity to create life and to feel strong and steady within ourselves. I feel like this week's where we have to we kind of get forced into making moves, to take matters into our own hands in life in ways that maybe we haven't. And that's kind of this precursor to this, the node shifting with this eclipse that's coming on Wednesday. So Venus going into shadow, we're definitely going to have to stand up, strong for the feminine energy. Like this is where the masculine kind of has to step up and really, be steady and be strong and help the feminine energy motivate and move forward, because, Capricorn's a feminine sign, and we're getting, a Venus retrograde there. So it's going to be felt by feminine energy, and that's within all of us. So we're going to have to find a good system, within ourselves to let our creative potential come out, but also to make moves and define and be strong so that creative potential can get redefined with how it relates to society and structures and governments as well. Yeah, and then Moon Uranus, it's just like Wednesday's a shocker. Wednesday's got like shock value written all over it. And I think it's like, wow, we can shock ourselves in some ways with how connected we can be and how in tune, and how we can metamorphosize so much of our physical world by knowing our value and our worth. So Thursday is definitely a big day. It's kind of the real build up to early Friday morning on the West Coast. It'll be 12:56, I believe, on the West Coast, and 3:56 on the East Coast. We do get the eclipse, so Thursday is definitely this giant build up to this new, like the universe is like, here's a new frame. Like this one, you're gonna have to get grounded and create for yourself. And we're going to see the moon square off with Jupiter, and the sun will be at 26, which is Saturn's degree. And we have, so it's 8, and we have Saturn at 8. Like this is just like, we haven't really seen, I think this is where we really get a good look this week with this eclipse energy at what this Pluto return next year and what the nodes coming into Scorpio and Taurus are going to look like for us. And it's going to be a lot of, like, there's going to be a lot more manipulation. Like, we think we've seen manipulation from like a government standpoint or overreaches of power. I got to be honest, like, this is where, like, even Thursday, the build up to this lunar eclipse, we might see something absolutely wild come out in the news that's just like, we're not going to believe it. You know, we're going to have to really come back into ourselves and make sure we got everything we need. A lot of that comes down to confidence and just knowing that you do. And Venus is fully in shadow, coming to 12 degrees and starting to slow down. So Venus, you know, that feminine energy is starting to slow down a lot so that we can really get in to what kind of structures we want to create and how to find, you know, that self-love within the system that's kind of looking like it's going to be hard. Let's go to the full moon, lunar eclipse. 2714 will be where the moon's at. Algol's 26 degrees. Like, that algol presence is definitely dark on this one, but you know, it definitely gives us the ability to see darkness and to slay it, you know, to slay that Medusa kind of energy that's out there. So we're all going to have to dive deep. We're all going to have to, you know, find strength and courage, which I would say Mars is helping us do. You know, it's giving us a very strong warrior ability within ourselves, and then an intensity to push forward. But it's hard. I've been thinking about this eclipse for a long time, and trying to come back to like a grounded way to say it, but maybe that's just what it is like, we have to really find our grounded essence. And it's important to know too that the Pleiades starts at about 27, 28 Taurus to 0, you know, 0, 3 or whatever Gemini, and the north node's in the Pleiades. The moon's very close to that, and it just passed Algol. So it's almost like we just get past the dark and there's this way out. And I recommend everybody watch Purgatory from the Leo King. It's on his Rumble page for free. Like, he does a lot of work on this area of the sky and how Dante used it to, you know, it was this ladder of contemplation, and how you can, you know, get out of purgatory was this area that this eclipse is in. So in many ways, there's a high dark presence that's kind of coming in to this slide, but only if you stay in that purgatory, only if you stay in that world. Like, this is where you can find your light and your capacity to get out, to get into the seven sisters Palladian energy of the light, and how to transmute that from within, and knowing your value and your worth. So there's definitely positives to this eclipse. I think it's a major light worker call eclipse, because we need the light, because there's this energy too where the dark's very strong, and that south node's getting ready to come into Scorpio with a Pluto return as the dispositor. I mean, talk about dark manipulation, death energy. It's getting real, and this is like a pre-show in some ways, and it's going to test us to find our light and to know how to get dark energy slain. But it's more personal with the moon, so it's like we got to have good boundaries with this Scorpio season, and it'll be at 27 degrees, which is 9, so it's this Martian sort of energy too, with a strong Mars here in Scorpio. Like, we got to know how to cut through darkness, plain and simple, as this moon will finish off Friday and come into the Pleiades and come towards Archangel Michael of Aldebaran. Like, this is where we can find a lot of that energy in our life. And I wish I had this set up to my web browser. I'd show like Archangel Michael like smashing Lucifer and the demon down, you know, with his might and his power. And this is where I think we can find so much of that in ourselves. So there's definitely dark energy, but it's not strong enough to take out the light. And the North Node is in this energy of the light. And that's where it's at. But we have to know it. We have to feel it. We have to be able to transmute it and literally wink back at this demon star, Medusa, that winks back at us like almost like this dark demon trying to like spell us. And it's like, no, I see you and I raise you all my worth as a divine essence, divine being here, as a light worker, as just this really embodiment of like almost stubborn knowing of you're the baddest thing on this planet and that dark cannot even touch it. So I'll be honest, there's some of that to this because I think people are stepping up big time and I love it. So I don't think this is to be feared, but damn, it's not to be messed around with. And I definitely would say like alcohol, being with alcohol, like we don't want to, don't use stuff that lowers you and takes you into a place of like self-doubt. You know, sometimes alcohol can get people in, you know, it's everybody's a little different. Everybody handles it differently, but we don't want to get into places of like, of feeling pity or feeling like we don't have something. Like we really got to find our truest form of beauty and capacity and know we're whole and we got this. And I think that makes one of the biggest differences as we're reevaluating our relationship to ourselves and what that relates to outside in society with this Venus shadow. And it is making really good aspects to Pluto. Like we're going to have Mercury and the sun both sextile Pluto. The moon will be trine Pluto for this. There's also the square to Jupiter that's playing out. And, you know, I didn't talk about Mercury. Mercury's going to trine over to Neptune as well. So, you know, our mind can be very sensitive and persuaded right now because there could be a rose-colored glasses that we're putting on and we don't want to see. But there's also this highly attuned essence that's coming in that's trying to help us really transform ourselves in the most powerful of ways, in the most steady and grounded of ways, so that we can navigate where things are going with confidence. So there's really good things to this week. It's intense, but I think we there's so many of us that just got this. Like it's not even worth tripping on. Because it's almost like we've already been feeling it and we know that it's been coming and it's just here now and we're ready for it. It's a big one though. Friday, we're going to have the moon cross the North Node. It's going to make good aspects to Saturn after that eclipse. And it is going to, you know, start to make good aspects to Chiron too with a sextile. And it's going to finish off the day with Aldebaran. Like I think this eclipse is igniting some serious light worker energy. Like, to be honest, I just feel like people are getting into their most true essence of their truth, of the person that you are, the soul that you are, what you came here for. It's almost like the divine mission's kind of getting activated in this time. Because we need it, we have to kind of hold that line, and it's a major transformation. And I think that we can see so much information come out this week that tries to make you go backwards when everything that you need is forwards, and trusting that. And yeah, maybe we don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but we're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna build the right relationship and the right value towards where things are going. So it's nice that we get a Venus retrograde to help us figure this out, and that we're in shadow now. We're starting the process of this big reevaluation within systems and within how we value those systems and within other power, and how we can find, we do need people in our lives. Like that's one thing about this eclipse too, in this polarity of Scorpio, Taurus, like we don't need to think that we have to do it all by ourselves, but it's the people close to you. It's the people that you've built good relationships with in your community, that that tribe, like we want to uplift and be there for other people there. But there's also this great divide that's going on in the collective, and it's not time for us to like be like this archangel savior and like save other people and like you have to come this way to my truth. Like, no, this is where I think we become so strong in our own truth that we just can really let people have theirs with a level of compassion. Just, hey, it is what it is. I'm going to help the ones that want to grow, that want to keep moving forward here and not go backwards. Some of that. Saturday, we do get the sun at 28 degrees, and that's a great manifestation degree. So we come off a lot of this eclipse energy, and the moon will be making good aspects to the Aquarius stuff with Saturn and Jupiter. It'll be in that midpoint trining. I think that we can manifest a lot based on the light, based on our truth, based on the information that we've seen. And we're starting to see also Mercury sextile over to Pluto. So like, I think this is where we're like getting to the deepest layer of the truth. And it's probably going to show up. This week has like crazy something showing up in our physical world, probably in the news, probably through the media, probably through government, probably through mandates, through something where the deepest truth is revealed. And it's like we would be silly to not pivot in life based on that truth, or to not hold our value based on that truth, because whatever that information, it's probably a little dark, even with Mercury sextile Pluto and the moon on Black Moon Lilith. Like, okay. And it's even in a yod with the moon, or with Venus and Mars in sextile with the moon and with Black Moon Lilith. Like, there's something that's probably coming out this week that's going to shock the world after this slide change. And it's showing a big precursor to where 2022 and 2023 are heading. And this is one of the biggest pivot moments in our life. It's big. It's a big precursor, but knowing your value and your worth and your light is just, it's what's going to get you through it. And Sunday, the sun will come to 0 degrees Sagittarius. Finish off this Sunday at 6:57 with the sun in Sag. So we finish Scorpio season this week, and we go into Sag, and the sun will be with the South Node, and it's gearing up for the solar eclipse in Sagittarius. So what a time this weekend, as we're definitely making some big shifts in our life, big transformations into our most steady form of our values, and literally seeing the dark play out and not letting it in, being so in your sovereignty that it doesn't matter. So it is a very intense week. Of course, I'm going to do all the dailies and go into these days much more in depth. That's just my little, that's what I'm seeing for the week. It's kind of crazy town, USA, wherever you're at in the world. But I would not be surprised to see some overreaches of power, to see some darkness. But at the same time, like, this is us transmuting darkness. This is us finding our strength. There is a stubbornness to this that's important. It's like you got to be stubborn for that light energy within you, and to not let dark come in, and to know how to create. This is going to be a big one with money. This is definitely big for finances, especially with the Uranus oppositions that we've had. Like, definitely got to be paying attention to what money's doing. Crypto's been doing good, but will that continue, or is that going to go through a dump too? I have noticed that whenever, the dollar takes a big hit, crypto takes a big hit too. So I don't know. I think that we're in this time of really figuring out what is valuable to us, what is of value as we're moving forward, as the collective value and the consensus value with Venus retrograding in Capricorn is shifting as well and transforming with Pluto. And even Pluto's return, and the South Node coming into Scorpio, and the North Node coming into Taurus, which is more about this knowing of how to create a reality for yourself, knowing that you are here to be a creator and that you don't need power outside of self. Like, that's going to be the illusion. And I think that this lunar eclipse is a big test on, do you really feel like you can create a life that you want, or do you feel like somebody or something or some institution has to help you? And that's where I think it can be hard for people, because we are in a system, at least in the United States, that, is heavily kind of dependent and kind of like relies on that system for a lot. And we're going to have to get off of that. That's a recipe for disaster, going that route. And I think we see manipulation towards that, of like, we'll help you, Medusa, demon star winking back at you. Yeah, sure, you will help me get entrapped into something that you don't want to be in. So very, very interesting times. Let's pull a card for the week, and I'm going to get out of here. Kind of had to make this one quick. Quicker than usual, and kind of just jump through it. Definitely some shifts coming up. The dailies will have some goodness in them, I promise. Ten of Wands for this week. I guess we have to, full moons are a release. And maybe this is a big, release of not carrying so much weight when it comes to feeling like you don't have enough. We can all kind of guilt ourselves and be like, I don't have enough. Like, I don't have enough of this. I don't have enough of that. Got to get out of that mindset this week, maybe, and realize that there's a lot of potential to create. Maybe all those values and the things that you thought you needed aren't even what you actually need moving forward. And that's the crazy part of this world that we live in right now, is we have this perception and this ideal of what you need. That's all kind of shifting. That's all going to change. We're coming into new values, new structures. Don't trip on what what maybe you've been told your whole life you might need. Like, I think we're coming into a new cycle of our creative potential, and we got to drop the baggage and the weight of what the old one thought you needed. This is where, we kind of have to get real creative and know that we can do it. And then Six of Swords. Yeah, we're sailing away. There's something better out there for us, and I think this is where we are realizing that we can create that, and we can go in that flow. And there's something about this divine essence that's going to take us where we need to go. It's going to give us all the strength. It's going to give us all the power to have this understanding that there's something better on the other side. We just got to kind of get out of this system that wants to control us, and we're here for you, that kind of stuff. It's not like that anymore. So I love you all very much. I hope you have a beautiful week. I'll see you for the weeklies. The weekly tarot will be up shortly as well. And sending you all my love and best. Much love. Peace.